Welcome to the Evolution Magazine live series. It is March 18th, year 2021, and we are broadcasting live from Happy Rock Farms in Kansas City, Missouri. Spring is almost here, and it's time for home cultivators and hemp farmers to prep their outdoor gardens. Presented by Eric McSwain with MCIA and special guests Luke and Michelle Poindexter from Rural Route Hemp Co, one of Missouri's first local seed-to-sale hemp farmers. Our show will get underway in just a few moments, but first, a word from our sponsors. The Missouri Cannabis Industry Association has been our longest-running show sponsor, while providing quality education over many topics in partnership with area cannabis professionals. MCIA is dedicated to a free cannabis market to create supplies and prices that are patient-friendly, with initiatives to support adult-use cannabis, to protect home growers' rights, and expand the caregiving program. Go to MOCIA.org to learn about memberships, to learn about their certified caregiving program, and learn how to get involved. Thank you, MCIA, for being a show sponsor. Besame Wellness Dispensaries. Besame Wellness is open Monday through Saturday, 9 a.m. to 9 p.m., and Sundays, 11 to 5, with 2 locations currently open for your convenience in Smithville on US 169 Highway and in North Kansas City just over the river on Burlington Street, with Berry Road and Liberty locations coming soon. Visit the website for more information like menus, new locations, and other updates. Besame Wellness Dispensaries at besamewellness.com. From the Earth, medical cannabis dispensaries built with our community in mind, here to help people understand the benefits of medical cannabis, while raising awareness for incarcerated Missourians who have been penalized in the war on drugs by working with partners such as Canna Convict Project and the Last Prisoner Project. With 3 locations in Missouri and 2 more on the way, visit From the Earth in Brookside, Independence, and Westside, Kansas City. Open Monday to Saturday, 9 a.m. to 8 p.m., and Sundays, 11 a.m. to 8 p.m., more information at FromTheEarth.com. Illicit Gardens is Missouri's leading licensed cultivators, focused on bringing the finest cannabis flower and products to the medical market. Illicit works with local and national advocacy groups to support the release of cannabis POWs, while bringing responsible medical cannabis use into the mainstream. Check them out on Instagram at Illicit Gardens to learn more. Tonight's video is provided by Cat King Films. Check this out. Cat King Films is offering promotional content, commercials, training videos, wedding videos, and documentary-style video production at an affordable price. A free consultation comes with every project to ensure that it is personalized to your brand. Check out previous projects by exploring the different sections on the newly launched website at catkingfilms.com.
What's up, Evolution friends and family? We have a little bit of a cable issue. That's the fun part of doing live shows. So you got to roll with it sometimes. Hey, thanks for tuning in tonight. We got a great show for you. I love kneeling down and doing the intro in front of our guests. It's my favorite thing, favorite way to start off a show. Tonight, we're going to get back to our roots. Back when we first started this whole series, we did a lot of home grow advice. And tonight, we're getting back to that with a little information on outdoor growing for home cultivators, and then how that relates to hemp farming. And tonight we have some very special guests, along with Eric McSwain from MCIA. We have Luke and Michelle Poindexter from Rural Route Hemp Co, and they are one of the very first hemp farmers in the state to be seed to sell. I'll let them share their story here in a little bit, but we're going to kind of talk about what they've learned in their first couple of seasons of growing, and how we can relate that to anybody that's a home cultivator that would like to try to grow outdoors. Before we pitch it over to them, I want to say thank you to our sponsors from the Earth Dispensaries, Illicit Gardens, Basement Wellness, and of course MCIA. Without them, we would not be able to bring all this information to you guys. So we appreciate their help with this. Go check them out. Go buy some of their cannabis. They have some very great flower, some of the best flower in the state. So thank you to all our sponsors there. And, of course, Rural Route Hemp Company is sponsoring tonight as they've come on the show. They have some great products. And speaking of products, we're going to give away a gift basket from Rural Route Hemp Company, as well as 2 free gift cards to From the Earth Dispensary. So just tag a friend in the comments. You can tag as many friends as you would like. You get entered in that competition for those prizes each time. So tag as many friends as you would like. Bring them into this conversation. Also, I want to remind you guys that this is an interactive show. So if you've grown outdoors and you want to share your experiences, we'll make a little comment in the comment box there. We'll talk about that. If you have questions you want to ask, some of these the very first hemp farmers here in the state, they have a wealth of knowledge, lots of lessons learned along the way. So if you want to chime in, ask a question, we'll ask that question live on the show. Participate and be a part of it. So we appreciate you guys watching. So let's pitch it over to Eric McSwain and Luke and Michelle Poindexter.
All right. I appreciate that, and everybody should be also giving praise, because he did that on one knee. He could have been offering you a ring, asking you to marry him right here on camera. That's good work. I'm here with Luke and Michelle Poindexter. Happy to have you tonight. You excited?
Thanks for letting us be here.
Yeah, awesome. One thing I want to be specific about now, you need to go tag those friends. We're going to give away some seeds tonight, in addition to gifts from Rural Route Hemp Company. So this comes to us from the friends at Kindway Farms. Shout out to you guys. I get my recertification through them, and as it turns out, they're home cultivators. Yep. And he's just giving them away. He wants to know what they do, right? And tonight we're going to talk about growing outside, and what better time to have some seeds in your hands. These are regular seeds, but tag somebody, get them in here to watch. Let's have some fun. Now, you guys come to us from where tonight?
Adrian, Missouri.
Adrian, Missouri. Whereabouts is that?
It's about 45 minutes south of here.
Okay.
Straight south.
Okay.
On 71.
Very cool. And you live pretty near to the line, I'm guessing, with Kansas?
We do. So we actually grew up in Drexel, and that's where the family farm is. And it's probably a mile or a couple miles from the state line. So.
I gotcha. And have you always been into agriculture, or what's your background?
So yeah, I mean we've farmed kind of traditional crops: corn, soybeans, wheat, raised hay for our cattle forever. And a couple of years ago, Michelle calls up and says, what do you know about hemp and CBD? And I said, well, I didn't know much at that point in time, and so we started doing a little bit more research on farming it, and then brought up the main question: what do you think Mom and Dad are going to say?
Oh no!
So we come from small rural area, Missouri, and just the whole cannabis industry wasn't always the most accepted thing in the world in our area. So we were all a little concerned about how that was going to go, and I think Dad was just ready to try, something different. It's farming. It's legal, and
Good.
it's a little
Open mind.
a little different than
That's what
corn
it
and,
takes.
corn and soybeans, and at the end of the day, it helps people. So let's try it. So.
Good. And sounds like you were able to get a little bit of a head start, having the advantage of being able to play in both states. Is that right? I mean, is that where you got your start? Is across the border? Actually,
It is. We started, so 2019, we thought we were going to be able to, do it here in Missouri. Everything didn't go through as fast as we hoped it would, so we found another family in Kansas, out of Paola, that we asked them if they would mind kind of joining forces that year on their property in Kansas, and they were all for it. So we got that first year under our belt, and then luckily last year everything went through here in Missouri, and we were able to grow on the family farm. So
Okay, very good. And was it pretty tough that first year out? I mean, I know there's a lot of I didn't know that.
it was painful.
Yeah.
It was
like
real
it's like
tough.
cringy, painful.
Excruciating. I mean, we fought that. So in 2019, we had terrible rain that year.
Yep.
And of course, hemp does not like, to have its feet wet. So we were fighting that nonstop, as well as all of the weeds that came along with it. So every day we were out in the field, trying to manage 10 acres, and we couldn't keep up. And fought. We even had, some fungus because of all of the water. We were fighting that. So it was definitely a learning. Season.
Everybody had told us getting into this that you need to start small, and so with corn and soybeans and everything else we've done, we've grown hundreds and hundreds of acres.
10 acres, small.
Right.
10 acres is small, right? Like that's small, but not 10 acres of cannabis. So we realized pretty quickly that that's a lot of surface area you get across on a plant that you want to really focus on each plant. You're not just throwing out millions of seeds per acre and kind of letting them go. You're wanting to go out there and kind of manicure each plant. So it was definitely a learning curve that first year. So
You bet. But you took those lessons, I guess, into the second year and improved on everything, maybe reduced the footprint. How'd that go?
We didn't. you would expect that
girl.
we would have, but no. No, I think we realized we needed more help then. We're just a small family, so we found additional help to kind of maintain the plants throughout the summer, manage the weeds that we did have, changed our approach on how we were attacking those weeds. Found, we had a cultivator that would run through each of our rows, and that helped out a lot. Took down a lot of the manual labor.
Okay.
So.
Okay, let them get a head start then, and
yeah, we didn't get smaller. We just got a little bit smarter. So,
right.
yeah.
Well, that's okay. That's okay. And now, is this going to be your third year, or
Right, it is.
okay?
We're going into our third year, getting seeds right now. We'll start putting them inside probably next month. In April, we'll start seeding everything. Kind of end of May, 1st of June, we'll start doing transplants. So we start everything in a greenhouse grower.
Did you bring some things to show, to talk about starting seeds and that sort of thing?
We do have some
Okay.
some pictures.
All right. Well, let's not let the
maybe-
opportunity pass by. Remember, tag a friend. We're about ready to go through it. Oh, there we go.
Right there. So
Tell me about that.
we start everything in basically 128 cell trays, using organic soil, starting soil to start with, and we're going again. This is a different plant than what we've been used to growing, so it's a very shallow. So that was something that we've learned. If you go too deep, it's no good for it, right? So we actually made a little stamper with nuts and bolts that fit the 128 cell tray that made a little 1/2-inch divot in our soil. So we'd fill the cells up with soils, we'd stamp it, and then we'd go in there and drop seeds in each one of them. Throw a little more soil over the top. We put them in under lights, indoor, in a fully enclosed, lighted area for a couple weeks, and then we take them outside into a greenhouse and kind of let them harden off for a little while.
Immediately.
So
Trying to acclimatize them. So basically, as soon as they're throwing their little hats off,
basically, once
go ahead
they
and get
start
them out
getting
there in the
some real,
greenhouse.
once they start getting some real leaves on them, we start putting them outside into the weather.
Okay.
So,
Okay, makes sense. That's how it's going to happen. And when you're growing outside, the plants have to be hardy,
that's right.
right?
That's right.
Well, so you're out in the greenhouse now, and I mean, what's next? Surely you got a transplant coming up, or
Yeah, so we wait till they get about around 6 inches tall, and then we've got bought a tobacco transplanter that we just can put the trays up on, and then we have 1 or 2 people riding on the transplanter. Or the first year we started, we did staggered 2 rows per each mulch row. This last year, again, we got smarter. We just did 1 row down each of the, or 1 row of plants down each of the rows. That worked out a lot better, and then we'd have 1 person following behind, and then any of the plants, that didn't get into the soil as good as they should, that person would kind of come behind and make sure that they
fix them up?
fix them up. Kind of
Give them a little love.
Exactly.
That's right.
That's right.
That's what it takes.
Which the person behind has to do, because the 2 people on the tractor and transplanter are not giving a whole lot of love each other. It's like slow down, speed up, slow down, speed up, slow down.
So not a husband and wife position. Just go-
It's not
I
even a
don't-
brother and
it-
sister.
Oh, definitely not brother and sister. Definitely not.
The father and son hasn't. It's a little rough. Father and daughter's a little rough. So it's
Depends
just
on the day.
It's a tough.
Depends on the
It's
day.
a tough position. So.
Yeah, it makes sense. And if it were me, it'd be all messed up.
Oh,
There
yeah.
wouldn't.
Oh yeah.
There wouldn't be any rows.
We're always arguing about who drives the straightest. You look out across a couple of rows and they're crooked, and you're like, well, you're the one that laid that plastic or that. So speaking of plastic, if you can see in that picture, so we lay under mulch, so it helps that weed control right underneath the plant. Also helps with moisture. So whether you're getting too much or not enough, like first year, it rained so much that it actually protected us a little bit. Last year we didn't have quite as much rain, so the bits that we were getting, including and with the irrigation that we had underneath, the drip tape we had underneath, it really holds that moisture in there and keeps it right there on the plants and saves it. So it's it just kind of controls it right there and doesn't let it go to extremes one way or the other.
Sure.
So
Sure. Makes a lot of sense, and that probably turns your labor and that sort of thing down by
From
an
a weed
order
control
of
standpoint,
magnitude.
you bet.
If you do it right, there's definitely some tricks to the trade of laying plastic the right way.
Sure.
First year, I think we had half of our plastic we lost, and it would just be flailing through the air because we didn't get it laid down right. So we found, getting the right amount of moisture, certain period after a rain, having that extra moisture in the ground
Sure.
with the tilled soil, because you're taking the soil around the plastic and piling it on the sides to hold that plastic down, and that's what you really need to make sure that it stays in place throughout the
Right.
season. So
Right. So it'd probably damage a plant as well when that happens.
damage the plant and a lot of extra work.
Oh, yeah.
Weeding, because if you lose your mulch, then you're just weeding everything.
Sad face.
yeah.
Sad face. I just spent time trying to do that. Yeah. Well, hopefully you have the extra success this year. Is there another? Now, how long are you in this sort of vegetative? How long does that go for hemp?
So it's I'd say basically identical to marijuana.
That's right.
It's an identical plant, it just has a little bit different, chemical.
Different chemotype.
Yeah, that's right. So, we're depending on varieties. You can get some phototypes and whatnot, or autoflowers that some will go shorter and some will go, more quickly. But we're transplanting in, May, early June area, and we're harvesting somewhere late September is what we're doing on our plants. So we're not growing year round putting them in and out of veg state, veg flower state.
Sure.
So we get one veg state and one flower state, and we cut them down. So come end of September, we put out the bat signal for help.
Need help.
And start getting a whole bunch of local kids and parents and whoever wants to come down.
It's
and
no different in bucking hay.
That's right. That's exactly
That'll make
right.
you an old man. That's hard, and shucking your hemp is
right.
no different.
That's right.
And so, so you go mid-September. Maybe does the next slide have some more mature plants?
Yeah, so the previous slide was our Sweet Wife in vegetative state. That was about 3/4 of an acre. They did better than any of the other varieties that we've had. And then this is definitely well into the flowering stage, mid-August or so.
So there's that man in that picture is our father, and he's 6'2" or 3",
Right.
and he's extending his arm up. So we had some great plants this year. So
And by the time it gets here, the weeds are probably pretty well beat back.
yeah, at this point
They're all shaded.
So.
That's pretty awesome. This is probably about the time, late August, early September maybe, where you're starting to get concerned about mold as well. I mean, if it turns off any long cold snaps, or is that a little later?
I think with the climate that we had this last summer, it was perfect. We really didn't have to fight off any mold. I think we had just the right amount of rain to keep them happy, but
Yeah,
not
it seemed
keep
like
it
it was
too
consistent.
wet underneath. So it really wasn't a problem. I think the biggest thing that we fought right at the end, maybe the last week or two, was just worms. Kind of trying to keep those off. We did one application of some organic spray to try to get rid of the worms, so that
What kind of worms?
what was that?
Little army worms.
Oh, really?
So, so we that's part of growing outdoors and part of growing organic. So our farm's organically certified. So
Yeah.
we're not we can't treat it with any pesticides, herbicides, anything. So we're trying to detour with
Sure.
ingredients that are organic, and it just makes it a little harder. But we're just trying to.
Now, did the worms get into one particular variety more than the others, or was it sort of all over everywhere?
They're impartial.
Yeah.
I think they're impartial.
Yeah.
They kind
They
of
go where they want.
Wherever they do what they want. Oh, those worms. Yeah, I've had the corn borer worm. That's what we call them anyway,
Yeah.
the bright orange ones.
Yeah.
And that's kind of a surprise. You break open like a really nice bud and you're like, oh,
Hiding in the
is this
center.
a tequila worm? I'm not sure how I feel about
Right.
this,
Right.
So it can be quite a surprise, and I feel the same way. I mean, you're dealing with the outdoors, and if you want to stay organic, there's only so many things you can do.
Yeah.
Right.
And especially when you're at volume, or even whenever you're at small volume, what if you don't live nearby? It's hard to be out there every day doing something to them and
Right.
all that stuff. So, especially whenever, for those of us who have a day job as well,
Right.
then you got to do it at night, and that may be not so good right before sundown.
Yeah.
So, what other, whenever it came harvest time, were you fully prepared that first time you went through it? And, did you do something different in the second year?
We did. We had help the second year.
Okay.
First year we tried, just with our family and the other family that we were working with, it was just hours and hours and hours and painful. So this last year we ended up having a lot of people in the community, kids, whoever needed some extra work, and come out, and that's actually what this picture is. We've got some of the local high schoolers running our bucking machine.
Bucking party.
That's right. And of course we've got a mother that makes fantastic food, so they all got fed great
Awesome.
every single day.
Awesome.
But what you can see is we've got several people that are running through, clipping the stems off the stalks, and then the folks there at the bucker are just taking each of the stalks and running it through the bucker so that it pulls the stems to the back, and then the biomass into a bucket. And then from there, we'll take that into the drying room and then dry it down before we
I
put it into
gotcha.
super sacks.
So I don't think we've mentioned this yet. So we also have extraction, right? So
Okay.
all of this biomass is going into our extraction side. So we do have some flowering that we treat differently. You know, we don't run all our flowering through the bucker. We do a little more manicured trimming and hang drying, but from the extraction, from the concentrate side, you know, we can kind of mass
Sure.
push this through and
Sure.
And utilize it for concentrates. So
Yeah, and I think, I mean, regardless of where it comes from, what you're interested in is what comes out the other end most generally. So, and all those cannabinoids, whether it's, you know, hemp or marijuana, legal definitions only, all those come from the trichomes. So that's what you're a trichome farmer, right?
Yep.
I mean, regardless of.
that's right.
That's right. That's how we do it. And now you've got it shucked off the stem, and you take it to a drying room. Do you dry on
do.
bread
So
racks? What do you do?
We've got a couple different, on the first photo there is our drying room. So we've got heaters, fans on both sides of the room that's circulating that heat throughout, and then a dehumidifier, so it's pulling all that moisture out of the plant material. Our rotations were it took us around 24 hours or a little more to get the biomass dried down to where we would need it, and then put it into super sacks and take that over to the lab. We also did a lot of hang drying. Every barn I think that we had was just filled with hemp this year.
Aw,
And
terrible problem.
So last year we had 15 days last year from our state test to pull it out of the ground. So we took our test, we passed, we started processing, bucking and drying, and got to that 15 days, or pretty close to that 15 days, and we're like, we're not going to get through this fast enough. So, you know, we like to cut and buck immediately. We buck it wet. It just works easier for everything for us. But we were obviously not going to get across the whole 10 acres. So that's where the hanging came in. We just, you know, started getting a couple days away from deadline, and we're like, we got to get this out, you know, for the state, or else we got to take another test. So we went and chopped everything and just started hanging it.
And you don't want to lay it on the ground and sit there and, you know, pull in moisture, because that's when you're going to get a lot of mold issues. So
Yep.
we had to hang it, even though we knew we were going to just go turn right back around and buck it. But it's better to protect the plant instead
No, that's
of.
right. That's right. I hate to see it all kind of stacked up, maybe on tarbs. I'm like, it's really good that you're taking the time to do that. And I'm betting it's also some that you really put up in the air and let it hang for, you know, 4 or 5 days maybe, and then that's some of the product that you used that didn't get turned as biomass, or.
Well, we actually had different facilities for our smokable side. So we have some buildings that are completely insulated, temperature controlled, humidity controlled, that we actually do, you know, a little more refined drying for our smokable products.
I gotcha.
A lot lower temperature and a slower dry for the smokable flower versus the biomass.
Yep.
You know, we can heat it pretty fast and get that moisture out of there.
Yep. Yeah, and with the biomass, you're taking it down, it's going to end up being, you know, isolated CBD of some sort or pretty close.
Right.
So you're not worried about the terpenes. And that's
Right.
the difference between cool drying, cool long drying, and quick warm drying.
Right.
Exactly.
Is, you know, it'll, matter of fact, room temperature, if you can't smell your weed outside, okay? Might be like 80 degrees in a place, that's when I know I'm about to stink this place up.
Yeah.
Because it really, you know, once you get over room temperature, it's going to start to smell more, guaranteed, and that's just terpenes leaving the plant.
Yeah.
So, hence the cool drying. Now, do you guys go in your indoor slow drying? Is that, you know, all the way down to 60, or do you do 70?
I think we were running at about 65.
Yeah.
65's good. 65's good. Kind of toes that line, like you want to get to 60, but golly, that's
Yeah.
awful cold and
Yeah.
a lot of electricity. No, I think that's good, 65. But then now you have a dispensary. How many Or not a dispensary rather, but a CBD
Retail store.
Retail store.
We
okay.
do. So, so the farm's in Drexel. It's about 10 miles away from Adrian, where our facility is. So we take all the biomass over to our facility in Adrian and just start preparing it there. We've got a warehouse where we hold the biomass, throughout the winter till we can get through it. We'll do our grinding out in the warehouse and then start our ethanol extraction process there, where we could run it through with negative 80-degree ethanol. That's pulling out the CBD oil, but leaving in all of the other unwanted plant materials or compounds that we don't want. And then at that point, once we've got that kind of ethanol oil mix, all of our next steps are really just refining it and pulling that ethanol back out so that you've got pure, you start out with crude and then we refine it all the way down in our lab to distillate.
Okay.
And then we'll take that distillate, and we just started in the last 6 months or so bottling our own products. So we do have a store there as well. We'll bottle our products, and then we have a storefront and online presence
Awesome.
where people can buy it online.
Awesome. And that was where exactly again?
Adrian, Missouri.
Adrian, Missouri. Come on down.
That's right.
Yeah.
Come on down. You doing pretty good there in Adrian?
We are. We're actually in an old feed store. We need to do a little bit better on our signage. I think people are having a hard time finding us, so it's helped. Facebook, social media has helped
Sure.
try to get the word out.
Sure.
But it's I think our online sales that have done really well.
Okay, that's awesome. Now, whenever you come out of your shop, I'm going to go back to the flower because we have a question. Whenever you come out of your drying, your slow drying, at the end of that, is there a cure? I mean, what do you consider a cure? Is that a different process?
Yeah, so after we kept in our cooler room for 14 days to 30 days, just based on some of the time schedule that we had, and then we put them into totes for curing, and our flour cured for another 20 to 30 days after that. So, and honestly, it's still curing because we still have flour, so it's still curing at that point.
Sure, sure. No, that's right. And now you have to get it tested. Is the difference in testing between smokable flour and everything else, I mean, is that different or is that the same procedure?
Same. As far as we're concerned, it's the same process because we, whether it's a concentrate and we put it into a little tab for them, or we're sending them flour, they're doing their processing from the testing side, however they do it. So we don't do any internal testing per se. Just, we want to make sure that we have that separation. We don't want anybody to have any concerns that, well, they're testing their own stuff, so
Sure.
can they?
I got you.
Can they, change it a little bit? So we send everything out. You can verify, any of our test results with the company that we send it to. So
That's great.
We stay out of that.
So with our smokable flour, obviously our test is focused around making sure that the THC is below the 0.3%. That's what we have to meet to be able to sell that. And then you can see a full, blowing what are the cannabinoids and terpenes that are in there. And then for
microbials,
Exactly.
pesticides, herbicides, we do full panel testing on everything. So
Got it. Would you consider, is there a big difference between the way Kansas does it and the way Missouri does it, or is it pretty similar in terms of that safety testing?
So I think because Kansas it was different in the first year, but now that I think Kansas has gone commercial, they're probably a lot closer to what we are now in Missouri. I just haven't kept up on their.
yeah. So, but the only thing that the issue right now is the only thing that they're testing for right now is cannabinoids, and it's not even cannabinoids. It's one cannabinoid. It's delta-9 THC. That is the only regulated testing between in Missouri and Kansas right now that they're concerned with. They don't make you do microbials. They don't make you do a heavy metals. They don't make you do a pesticides. They don't make you do any of these other additional testings that we're doing. They're only focused on Delta 9 THC. That's the only thing we're going to care about, which, is not the worst thing that can come out of this plant. You can get sick from all kinds of other things that people are putting on these plants, but we're going to focus on one cannabinoid and one cannabinoid only. So, soapbox, but
No. I mean, I know a guy. He does the same thing. He's local to me. He's starting real small, and we were talking about that one day. If I was concerned, and he's like, "Well, if some kid comes out here and tries to take all this, then, I mean, joke's on him."
yeah, he's going to be disappointed.
Joke is on him. So, I don't know. But it's true. And now, even in your small town, like with us, what's mom and dad say? Well, how'd everybody react to a little shop opening up? I mean, was that a big deal, or did?
Not at all. I think we were actually pleasantly surprised. We really have not gotten any pushback from anyone.
The Poindexters are doing it? That's fine.
Exactly. It's got to be on the up and up.
That's fine.
No, everybody's been very supportive. In fact, we didn't start out planning on taking it to a final product. That was only after we had gotten people in the area asking us. We were just going to sell the distillate in bulk, and that was it. So I think people are excited that we brought products. So many more people in our area were taking CBD already, that already were educated about it. And that was a huge surprise, I think, for me. So
You got people coming in telling you how
exactly.
things work.
Oh, that's right.
This is what you need.
Oh, yeah, tell us what they're using it for. That you just don't even. It hadn't come across the radar.
Right.
They're. I'm doing it for this. No, I'm doing it for that, and it makes sense once you start, kind of putting symptoms together and what this plant will do for you together. But it was in a weird place or whatever. So it's kind of cool seeing what they're using it for, so we can, just help educate other people, right? It's all. Yep. That's our biggest issue right now is just educating everybody about how well this plant can help you.
Yep.
So.
Our building is right in the middle of town, so
Okay.
as soon as we harvest and bring it in, there's no hiding it. That smell just permeates
No, there
the
is not.
town, and I think we made a decision early on. We're just going to leave the doors open, let everybody peek in, and so it's no secret. It's
We need to have Clay film it next year. Like at harvest time, he'll just be like driving behind. We'll get cameras set up on the outside of the car. It'll be great. What do you think, Clay?
Hey, I just want to say that me and Chris Smith went there early on. This was
That's right.
this was like a year and a half, two. I mean,
Oh,
this
yeah.
is a while back.
Yeah.
Like right after you had your first harvest, and it was just what you said. The doors were open. We were like, "Where's it at?" And there it is, right there. And it was in the middle of town, and I was like, "Wow, what do these people think?" Like this is new to the state, but especially new to this community
Yeah.
for sure. So kudos to you guys for having maybe just the past the reputation in your community, to where people are like, okay, we trust them, we know them, and so maybe this hemp thing is not what we think it is, so that's why we, big reason why I was like, yeah, let's bring them on the show tonight, because you have such an impact in your local rural community there, to be able to help persuade minds that this is not what we've been taught it has been our whole lives, and to have people not only listen to you but let you have this place right in the middle of town where people are coming in and be like, oh wow, that looks like some marijuana up in there.
Big deal.
So.
Big deal. And even if we just brought it to every small town in some way,
Yeah.
because we could have the additional licenses. We could make it easier on the hemp side because, what's the big deal here, guys? I think we got some growing to do, but it sounds like you've seen in your community, some positive changes, and that's a good story. That's a story we should tell.
Yeah.
I love it.
There are 1 or 2, 3 guys, older people that, would maybe smirk a little bit, but it was so surprising how many people were already taking it, already knowing about it, and just wanted something that they could get locally, and not have to go, try to research a company to try to find something and have no idea where it was coming from. So now that we have it in Missouri and people can get good product, it's good for everybody. So
Right.
I think if anybody's concerned about it, I think even your small town conservative areas probably know more about it than what some people think they do, and are willing to accept it. And
Yep, and I think a big part about a part of that is that there's a lot of folks in a lot of communities who just aren't ready to talk about it out loud. And but once you do, oh, okay, we want to talk about it all the time.
Right.
So I'm a denied applicant, but I had to go to the city council, and it's a small town, and talk about the plot and what the plans were and the whole deal. And I know people pretty much everywhere. I'd been a school board member, and for months after that, after it came out that what I was doing, there's one fellow at the grocery store, and every time I'd come in, he'd look around and he'd be like, how's that weed business doing? Is it cool? Are you gonna get it? So, and then later on though, it only took 6-8 months after that. Pretty soon we're just talking about it. And he didn't even look around first. And it doesn't take long. It's okay, everybody. Just calm down, okay? Keep calm.
I think it also goes to show how much the plant is helping people. We hear so many stories all the time, people coming into the store that were either already using it or started trying our stuff, and whether it's their neck, back, anxiety, sleep, that really helps, I think, people get over the fact that it's a cannabis plant, right? Because it's helping the ailments that they've had for years, and nothing else has been able to help them. So, naturally,
That's right. It's not everything to everybody, but as long as it's something to somebody, I think it's okay. And if it's not hurting anybody, that's the big deal. That's the big deal. That's the stigma that we got to get away from. Clay, you going to take us into a break?
Yeah, let's do it. By the way, I want to say thanks for everything you guys are doing for your community and for other communities. And it's my pleasure to have met you guys early on in this whole process. And I think a lot of other hemp farmers that are going to be coming online over these next few years are going to look to you guys for advice and reach out to you for, to see what they can do differently. So leaders in our hemp industry here, support them by buying some of their products. Rural Route Hemp Company. We're going to be giving away some free gift basket tonight. So tag a friend in the comments for that giveaway. We're also giving away some beans, novelty beans here for your novelty purposes. And then 2 gift cards from the Earth Dispensary. So tag a friend to enter those competitions, or giveaways rather. And then we're going to check in with the Canacomic project. And then when we get back from that, stick around. We're going to talk about how you can relate what our hemp farmers are learning out there on the outdoor growing on a larger scale, how we can relate that to growing your own at home as a home cultivator, using what the good Lord above provides, the sun, the water, the rain. Eric does it all naturally, all organically, just like Luke and Michelle do it on their larger farm. So when we come back from the break, we're going to talk about how we can combine those two things and learn from each other and make sure you have the best outdoor harvest you can have. So let's check in with Chris and Christina at the Canacomic Project.
Hey guys, this is Chris and Christina with the Canacomic Project. We're here with this week's update. We have Seth Wigington as our special guest today.
So we brought Seth on because his anniversary of his 1 year of release is coming up on Saturday. So we're very excited that you've had a successful year and you're out. And just as a quick run through to remind everyone who Seth is, He was sentenced to 23 years in prison for cannabis. He served 4.5 and was released last March 20th to a little statute that was found through collaborative efforts. We were able to get that before the judge, and the judge granted it, and he was released 30 days later. So, Seth, you've had a really productive year. Do you want to tell everyone what you've been doing with yourself and enjoying your freedom?
Man, where do I start? I have a great job. I'm a project manager for a concrete company. We're actually up in Maryville, Missouri, working on college right now. I have a beautiful home that I've been working on. We've really been going to town. I actually did a lot of tree removal and dirt work the other day, and that's really coming along. I'm about to start working on my pool. My son, he's an amazing kid. I have the greatest boy ever. He's a straight A student, and he's a soccer superstar. We've been going to soccer games. They're already starting soccer, and that's been really fun. He had to tell me to actually stop yelling at him on the sideline. I guess I'm kind of outspoken when it comes to that, just the coaching me. But what else? I'm really starting to do a lot of other things. I'm really trying to start a couple businesses. I've been looking into starting a composting business, and I'm also looking into another thing that's happening for sure is I'm going to start building concrete homes. They're ICF, high efficiency concrete homes, and that's something that's hopefully going to kick off within the next 4 or 5 months. And hopefully we'll build 100 is the game plan. So financial freedom, hopefully. So it's going to be nice. I got some big plans. I just got to keep grinding, stay focused, and be grateful.
Absolutely. You should look into hempcrete.
I have actually. I knew you was going to say that. And I actually have. And one thing that I did is it's more of like a block laying thing. And I just know concrete so well. And it is something that I really have looked into. And the pros definitely outweigh the cons. And it is really neat stuff. And I really would like to. I just got to do some more research on it and find a good source for the material. That most often right now is the sourcing of products when it comes to doing big projects. It's becoming an issue. And it's just something that you really got to find a good supply chain before you lock into something good. And I know we have a family member of mine owns a concrete plant, so I have unlimited concrete anytime. So that's just something that I'm going to use for the time being, just to get me where I want to go.
And for your soil business, we know plenty of individuals, if you get it, that would be supportive of you. So, you got a couple things.
Oh, right. Yeah. I've actually talked to Happy Rock Farms about it, and those are some great guys. I'm currently using their soil, and I would like to, see if we could collab on that. We have mentioned it to them. It's just something I got to get the ball rolling, but I think it's going to be great once we do.
So what's the most exciting thing you've done since you've been released?
Oh, my Lord. Oh, man. See, I went skydiving. That was amazing. That was a really neat thing. I actually just got hooked up. I'm about to go start possibly get my pilot's license. I got a friend that I just met, and he said he's going to take me up for my first flight. And I got another buddy that runs crop dusting, and they just want me. It's just something I've always liked aviation, and that might be something that's come into my life that I might venture into. I'm not sure, but it'd be neat to learn how to fly. And with my son more than anything, truthfully. Yeah,
that'd be awesome.
Getting time with him. He lives with me, and I'm telling you, my son, he just having the time with him and what I missed and what we've been making up on, just going out and playing in the woods. And he's got a motorcycle. I got my 4-wheeler. We actually I had the Bobcat up at my house, and we made a path through my whole property, and now we can ride around my whole property, and it's a mud pit, but it's fun. And that's been a blast. And there's just so much going on. I don't even know where to start, truthfully. I just am so grateful, and especially for you guys and what you guys did to help me get home. I mean, if it wasn't for you guys, I'd probably still truthfully be in prison. And that's something that really needs to be thought about too, because and there's still people out here that are in prison, and it's super sad, like I shared your post today, Chris, and because I just really hit home, and do that, more, just got to get the word out there. And I've been kind of worried about posting and stuff like that because of parole and things, and just so it's like something that I have to be careful about what I do, I guess, but I'm just to the point now where I'm just like, what can they do really? It's like, it's medicine, like you said, we're healers, not dealers.
That's right.
Yeah.
It's important we continue to educate everybody about that. And, it's so awesome that you're out here on the outside, you have your freedom back. And, we want to keep helping other people get their freedom back, because nobody deserves to be behind bars for a damn plant. And so we got a Irish festival this weekend. Are you going to, on your anniversary, are you going to be there?
Yeah, completely. Yeah. My mother, my aunt, they're going to be there. It's going to be a good time for real. I can't wait. I'm ready to meet out and get to mingle with the community. And with the last year, kind of how everything happened, I'm just ready to see where the networking can go and what can happen. Like 2021 is going to be a good year. 2020 for me, I felt like was great. Kind of tough, and it's really looking awesome. And I'm really ready for the summer and all the events and people that I'm going to meet. So I just can't wait, really.
Well, it's kind of nice. It really sucked that you came out in the middle of a pandemic, or at the beginning of a pandemic, but it was also kind of nice because it gave you like unsolicited time with your family and with your son, uninterrupted. And so it really helped you like naturally reassimilate, without a bunch of like pressure and burden.
Completely. And that was truly a blessing, actually, to have that time with my son when I did get home and able to just readjust. And for a straight 30 days, it was just me, him, and we was doing homework every day and just so many different things and going to the park every day. And I was just so grateful for it, truthfully, like just to get that time with him, wake up every day and do something new. So it's just, that just was really a blessing, truthfully, in disguise.
Well, we're so happy you're out with us, and we're going to work and like make you to go to all these events and remind everybody that there's still people that are in prison for a plant, and it's time to get them out. We need legislative change. We need support from the community, and we need to blow up our representatives nonstop. But everyone else, we'll see you at the Irish Fest this weekend. We hope you all come and stop by our table and say hi to us and Seth and whoever else we can wrangle up to join us at our table. And
it's going to be a great event.
Everyone
yeah, for sure. I can't wait.
We're excited that it's on your anniversary of freedom. So
right, I know that's a neat deal. Yeah, I can't wait. I'm really going to celebrate it. It's going to be. I'm just thrilled, really. I just can't wait to meet more people and see new faces and get to know more people in the community and really push what's going on out here. And there's a lot of good things going on, and there's a lot of things that we need to work on too, and like you said, the representatives and stuff. I'm really, truly ready to go down to Jeff City and get my story in some people's ears, and let them know the statistics that I know of what's going on. And really, I know that I'm ready to push harder this year, truthfully. And it's something that I was wanting to do more for you guys and just the way things, but I'm really ready to. And like what now, my financial stability is getting a little better, and I'm getting more organized in life with things. So I'm really ready to be more of a proponent for the Can Convict Project.
And we're excited to have you. It's, we need all the help we can get, and somebody as influential as you, that's going to be a big help. So thanks for coming on the update tonight. It was great to see you, ladies and gentlemen. Seth Wigington.
Later, guys. It's good seeing you guys. Love you.
You guys enjoy the rest of the show.
You guys, I love you guys. I love all you guys.
Yeah. We love you too, man.
They love you.
Hey, welcome back, everybody. Good to have you on the second part of the show today. Don't forget, tag somebody, okay? We're going to be talking about growing outdoors for your medical cannabis supply as a patient cultivator or a caregiver cultivator in this second half. We're going to try to tap into the knowledge of folks who've been cultivating cannabis. Same thing already for a couple years here in Missouri. Missouri has its own challenges, so there are some things that you'll want to look out for. Don't forget, we got a seed giveaway. That's why you want to tag somebody, right? Get into that seed giveaway. It comes to you from Kindway Farms, new member of MCIA, and just some good people. You can get your renewals. It's a doctor. He's also a cultivator, and he just likes to share and give him some feedback. That's all he's looking for. He makes no guarantees, but we've got a couple crosses there that might do something outside. So come on through and get it. Now, we're here with Rural Route Hemp Company, okay, Adrian, Missouri, just a little way south of here. Thanks for coming again tonight. We're going to talk about in this half from the perspective of a home cultivator, and that is of medical cannabis, medical marijuana, the legal term marijuana. Have you done much of that or any of that to this point? Okay.
We have not.
We haven't.
Okay.
So we, we didn't even have a
Sure.
closet grow or a basement grow, when we were in high school or college.
Sure, but you knew how to grow stuff.
But we,
So now you know how to grow
We knew how to grow
the cannabis.
other stuff. So
That's right.
and
That's
learned
right.
how to grow cannabis. So, it's. There are a lot of people interested in the home grow. We have people asking us all the time, about the caregivers' licenses, and so I think that's very interesting to learn about and figure out how they can help some of the people in the community that need this, on a smaller scale. So
Yep.
kind of need to know how many plants somebody can grow for a person, and how many people can they grow for.
Yep. And the regulations in terms of, you actually have to have it in a facility, is the legal term. You got an outdoor facility or an indoor facility. They got a little bit different rules, so that's the first thing you're going to want to look at is where you're going to put it outdoors. Most folks who are going to live in town and be able to put it outdoors, you're just going to have a tall privacy fence on one side, perhaps. Maybe you're going to have some screening of some sort in order to enclose it so folks can't, the neighbors can't see you. But if you do happen to have a secluded spot, what do you think, 6 to 8 hours of sunlight? Is that good for cannabis, or even more is better?
I think it all depends on at what stage it's in, right? So, you can probably a little more earlier, a little less later, but so.
Yeah, and that'll help them get a good start, especially if you get
Right.
that strong spring sun on them. And so that's something to go out in your yards and look at. Midday this Saturday when the sun finally comes out, because, oh boy, we can't take any more rain right now, okay?
Right.
Just calm down, all right? Calm down, please. I got a guy, don't worry about it. And so, you can go outside and actually look at the shadows of the fences, of your trees. You're going to notice that the north side of your trees always have shade. That's why they get the moss on them. You may not want to push anything right up against a north tree or a north fence. The back of your north side of your house always has a couple feet of shade on it, right? So if you're going to put them in the ground, might want to move them out. But we might be in the country, and be sure to ask questions, you guys, because I know you're listening. If you're out in the country, I think you now have the option to select from certain acreage, right? So, in terms of hemp, would you have a preference between putting it down in a shady, tree surrounded bottom versus up on the top of a hill?
I mean, our experience, we wanted to make sure that they have as much sunlight throughout the day
Sunlight,
as possible.
airflow,
So, airflow,
up on the top of the hills
Yeah.
instead of down in the valleys.
or even on the side of a hill. So,
Yep.
it's getting some water, but the extra water is getting kind of ran
Right.
off of the
Right,
plants.
drainage, got to be
So-
good drainage.
And we've anything that we've planted has been, kind of grassland that wasn't farmed, so it hasn't been farmed with synthetic herbicides, pesticides, fertilization. You don't have to. It's not a legal thing that is required right now. But trying to give somebody a good product, we plowed up, virgin ground that had not been treated for 30 years, 50 years, 100 years. So, you know, talking to some of the smaller home grows, you know, what do you do in your backyard? You know, have you been putting stuff on your grass? So if you're just digging it up, you know, it's probably pulling, you know, because cannabis pulls nutrients and good stuff, bad stuff, ugly stuff out of the ground.
Bioaccumulator, right?
Better than most plants out there. So if you're throwing some, forgive me, some Scott's fertilizer on there, and it's soaking up some stuff, you probably don't want that in your cannabis.
Right.
So do you need to go kind of a raised bed, put some new soil in?
Maybe containers?
Some containers.
Because it's small scale, right? You could theoretically, like, just tell me straight, on your hemp varieties, you know, maybe middle of the road hemp variety in terms of yield, what do you get on a plant?
So we're a pound and a quarter on a plant.
Okay, hear that?
That's you know, we're large scale, so we're not, when you have 10 acres, it's hard to, you know, manicure and treat it as well as 20 plants or 50 plants.
Yeah, no doubt. But those are good points, because in Missouri, and as it turns out, half of our viewers plan to grow outside this year. So hit us up, y'all, okay? And tag your friends who plan to grow outside too. We got a gift basket. Let's take a break for a minute. Tell me what's in the gift basket. There's a lot of stuff there.
So this is a gift basket. We will get a 1,500 milligram full spectrum tincture, a 2,500 milligram salve, and then you get a 1 gram pre-roll. So
a little bit of fun.
A little bit of fun.
A little bit of feeling okay.
And make you feel better. Make your back feel better. Make your insides feel better. And
a lot of potential applications there. I really enjoy hemp flower. I actually I have hemp that I grow. Well, it's probably hot hemp, you know, but if you want to use those terms, it's CBD rich, type 3 plant, I guess, and low on the THC, but it's always consistent, right? And so I know what I'm getting out of it, and it comes out at 16% CBD, and so I mix it with my, you know, high teens THC to come up with an approximate, you know, 1-to-1, which is a really good ratio. It's really pleasant for me. It doesn't make me too loopy. I don't get intoxicated, but I still get a lot of, you know, relief from inflammation, from pain, all those sorts of things. It's really good in the morning. I love it.
And that's what we've found with some of the dispensaries, you know, who are heavier on the THC side. Their consumers are, again, being more educated and realizing that, you know, multiple cannabinoids are helpful for your body. So they're taking, you know, the high THC side and they're mixing with the CBD, or the, you know, CBG is out there now, easily accessible as well. And so they're doing those portions and getting a lot better effect to have both.
It's the entourage. You just have a little party. That's how I look at it. I'm like, oh, a little this, a little that, a little that. We're good to go. Okay, well, let's go back to growing. All right, so it is what, March 17th right now? Is that the date? I think it's the date. March 17th? 18th. Okay, mark this on your calendar, okay? If you're going to put seed in the soil, I would do it on 4/20. Easy to remember, right? But you're going to be partying. So figure it out. Weekend before, weekend after, maybe.
I'd
Good
say
Friday.
4/19 is better than the plan for 4/21, because if you plan for 4/21,
you're still recovering.
It's going to be 22 or 23.
Yeah, you're still recovering. Okay, 4/19.
Shoot for 19.
Yep, it's a Monday. Put it in. That's about when the last freeze is upon us here in most of Missouri. Depends on whether you're south, north of the river. There is some variation there, but that's why I say that. Your ground temperature's getting there, right? Go ahead and put those seeds if you're going right in the ground, okay? If you're not going right in the ground, and whenever you're only planting 1 to 6 plants, okay, I don't see why you'd want to just go right in the ground. You can set up a little, look it up. It's called a cold frame. So wherever you're going to put it, just put a little cold frame right there to begin with, and it can be very cheaply made, plastic, doesn't take much, it's just got to get sunshine, put a couple rocks on it so it doesn't blow away in the storm, right? Make a little cold frame and start your seeds in there, and you can do that here in just a couple weeks.
Yeah.
Okay, 1st of April, something like that. It's like a little miniature greenhouse, y'all. That's all it takes. Very cheap. You can probably get the stuff laying around the house. Just don't use Mama's raincoat. She'll get mad.
Yeah.
Okay, she'll get mad. So, but you do something similar. You start them in a controlled environment, and then right into the greenhouse, which is a huge cold frame plus some, right? And then from there, once the freeze is gone, once you're pretty sure that you're not going to get a freeze at night, maybe just a frost, that's fine. You'll get that through May. You can go ahead and get them in the ground. So once again, you just give them about 3 weeks. If you start in a little bitty pot, you're going to have transplant. Okay, be careful. I would start them in like a 3-inch pot or something like that and give them about 2-3 weeks. Maybe a 5-inch pot, just give them a full 4 weeks before you put them outside. Plan on late April to do that. And we got seeds here, so let's get it on.
Don't skip the harden off step. So you have to get them accustomed to that outside climate. If you've got them inside your house and you've got a room and you've got six little pots and they're just perfectly climate controlled, do not go out there and transplant those. When you're ready to go outside and put them in, if you're going outside, do not do that. You have to give them a little climatization.
Yep.
Otherwise,
that's right.
They're just going to stress out.
And my preference is actually to go ahead and start them in the cold frame. You better have everything set up anyway. You just got a few weeks. Once the ground starts drying out, it's time to get it on. Build your little area. There's some of our viewers out there who've done just this sort of thing. Y'all post your links. We want to see them. It can be done. It's not hard. Start them right in the spot and start them outside. Then you don't have to acclimatize them because they come out of the ground going, whew, that's bright. Okay, that's bright because if you start them inside under probably fluorescence, right? So you start them under fluorescence, and that's 350 ppfd for the good one, and that's a measurement of the light intensity, basically 300. Natural sunlight is 1700 to 2,000, depending on where and when in the middle of the summer. And so in the springtime, it's still well over 1,000. It's in the 1,300s. So you're going to go from 300 to 1,300, smack right in the face. It's going to hurt them. It's going to hurt them. So, and what do? Maybe a couple hours of sunshine a day, or just kind of put a little net over them for a while?
So, we would basically put them out in our hoop house, greenhouse, basically for the better part of the day, and we do that for a week. So,
gotcha.
You're somewhere around eight hours a day for a week, just to let them, start absorbing some of that. And we're cranking up fans as well because you have wind flow, to try to stiffen up those stalks. So, but we're blowing, about as much breeze as we can on them. Because you never know. Once you put them outside, you never know what Mother Nature's going to do. She may come in with a 20, 30 mile an hour wind, and you want to make sure these things are strong. So we're blowing as much wind on them. We're leaving them out in the hoop house for as long as we can, and then we transplant them.
Yep.
So
and
first year we had a couple of hailstorms.
Oh,
Just came and we pulled them out of the start room, put them outside, and they just got hammered with hail. So not that hardening them off is going to prepare them for that, but that's kind of what you're up against in Missouri.
That was part of hardening them off, though. The ones that didn't die.
They're hard.
So, did you have a big loss when that happened? Maybe 10%, or what do you think?
We had some loss. I think it was more they weren't prepared. It was a rough start. We weren't familiar with kind of indoor grow, greenhouse, whatsoever that first year. That's not something that we've ever done as a family.
You don't start corn inside.
Right. So we weren't prepared for that whole part, and we did have quite a bit of loss that first year on our starts. But.
Yeah, and at scale, making little cold frames for each little, that ain't going to happen. So totally understand the difference there, but it's important. And By the way, when you put them out, make sure that if you put them in a pot, that's good. Okay, that's an option. We're going to talk about this. If you do a container planting, which means you've got basically a big flower pot, I would go bigger the better. Totally, the bigger the better. As big as you can get. Minimum, probably like a 20-gallon tote minimum. Okay, those are pretty cheap to be had, but that would work. Cut the drainage, and then you put your soil in it. What you have to do after that depends on the soil. Do you have to supplement any kind of nutrients? That depends on your soil. Depends on what kind of soil that you're going to put in your container. If you're going to use something off the shelf, you're probably going to have to do a fertilization program, much like you would inside. Okay, if it's in that container. Now, whenever you're outside, do you supplement fertilizer throughout the season, like maybe in the spring to kind of get them moving, or do you build it all into the soil to start with?
We have, because we had our choice of, utilizing really high, nutrient-rich soil or farmland. The only thing that we've had to apply last year and this year is some organic chicken litter.
Okay.
We've tried a few things, hit and miss kind of throughout the season, and haven't noticed a big difference in the yield. So it's really just kind of that boost at the beginning or prior to the season starting.
Yep.
That we apply that nitrogen basically to the soil.
Yes, nitrogen is huge. So don't starve them. If you're going to put anything on them in the spring as a home gardener and maybe an organic gardener, I would probably shoot for some fish emulsion. Okay. I go for the hydrolysate. It doesn't stink as much. Do it in the morning. Don't get it on the leaves. Whenever you do it in the morning, it allows the smell to dissipate. And whenever you do it in the morning, do it to other things around it. Okay? Do it to the fence. Do it to the fence post. Because we got raccoons, little sneaky little trash pandas, right? We got possums. We got all kinds of stuff. We got foxes. We got coyotes. And they all love that stinky fish smell. But the reason I say fish is because it's got nitrogen and it's real mild. It's really hard to hurt your plant. And if you've already got a nutritional soil that you're in, go ahead and put it on there. However, if you're going to use an indoor type regimen, just do that regimen, right? Use that soil, put it in a container. Now, what I will say, real quick, if you do the container gardening, don't make any plans. You're not going on vacation, okay? You're going to have to water it every day, especially from like July all the way through mid to late September, whenever it starts raining again. You will have to water it almost daily. So don't make any plans if you go that route. You guys are in ground. Do you irrigate much throughout the summer?
We do irrigate, but back to your fertilizer, you have to know what you're starting with. So if you are going,
good point.
If you're going outside in the ground, you have to know what your soil looks like in the ground. That means pulling a sample, sending it to a lab who can test the nutrients in your ground, so you know what you're starting with. So like I said, we started with ground that had been under grass for years and years and years and years and years. Had a lot of organic material in it.
Yep.
But it needs stuff. So if you don't know, if you're buying a bag of soil and you're putting it in a pot, the soil supplier should be able to tell you exactly what nutrients.
You know what you're starting with.
Well, you know what you're in there. If you're digging up a hole in the ground and putting it outside, you don't know what it is. So you need to test your dirt so you know what you're starting with. See
Yep.
where your pK is.
Yep, and do type in like Missouri Extension soil testing or Logan Labs soil testing, or lots of search terms going to get you to a good qualified search or a soil tester, and it's a quality test. The instructions are right on the site, the thing you do to get it done, and it's like, what, $35?
Yeah.
$35, not too much. You can pay extra for the expert analysis and whatnot, which might be kind of fun if you can. But here in Missouri, we have 11 different types of soils, like distinct.
Yeah.
Like some are rich, have a lot of magnesium. Some of them have a lot of this, a lot of that, compaction, loamy, sandy, all kinds of stuff in between. So great points, and you got to know what you're starting with. And I prefer, for irrigation purposes or lack of irrigation, to direct in-ground farm. You know, so I've spent time to add, I mean, organic material, organic material, organic material, organic material, organic material. Look it up on YouTube. You know, there's tons of resources. If you just bring in continuous compost without overdoing it too much, that's perfect. Just bring in a lot of stuff for the plants to grow in, material for everything to build up in. You hardly won't have to fertilize at all if there's enough organic material there, right? So is that something you guys look to during the year in terms of your ground biology? How careful are you not to, you know, mess up the roots and earthworms, that sort of thing?
So we haven't, we've had good dirt to start with. We treat a little bit, you know, kind of fall of the previous year or spring of that year. But we really don't underground have to treat a whole lot. We haven't had to, or haven't done that. So
that's a good thing, though. Less treatments is better.
That's right.
The more you can just let them do their thing, which again is what I like to do. I'll go away on vacation in the summer. Doesn't matter if it hadn't rained for a month. I'm still not going to have to. And what I've done is taken that organic matter. I've put rice hulls in there. I put, you know, topsoil from bottoms, you know, and brought it to the location. I have to be a little more specific about my location, by the way. Look it up. We're talking about, you need 6-foot fences, 14 gauge wire outside, and inaccessible from the top. And depending on who you talk to at the state, some will say you have to have it completely fenced off at the top. Others are going to pass you on barbed wire. You know, just keep resubmitting it. Don't worry about it. You know, but you have to be careful because there is an odor to it. And if people know you're a patient, depending on the neighborhood you live in, you know, who do you know? I'm way out in the country. I don't have to worry about it at all. But, you know, a lot of us do. So be very careful. It does still have a lot of value. So people will come get it from you, regardless, even if it is hemp. Have you guys had any problem with that?
We really haven't. And we
Okay.
had most of our fields are, you know, set back on the property where you can't see them, but one of the test plots was pretty close up to the road, and we were curious about whether anybody would see it and start to bother the fields, but we haven't had, that we know of, haven't had anybody out there taking any plants or
That's good.
sampling. So,
Yep. Yeah, and that can be the case, but just be careful and follow the laws, get used to the regulations. If you have any questions on that, go ahead and throw them up here. I'm happy to answer. I grow outdoors for myself, 2 other patients, so my area is about a 30-foot by 30-foot, and it's pretty full at the end of the year. I prefer to let, you know, get the good genetics, right? I think that's important. Get the genetics that are known to be mold resistant, that sort of thing. I look for it, and then put them out and try to keep them clean and make sure you're in a place with good airflow and just let them go to town. And I've had pretty good success with that. That's all it could really take. And again, you know, a pound for a plant, that's not shabby. And that's just one plant. So go ahead and start 6. Start your limit. If you have 2 that survive, put them together, right? Make them look like one plant, you know. Go ahead and just keep the best, biggest plant. That's all very cool. So even if you got a 1-plant grow, I would start multiple seeds, right? Because timing is pretty important. Getting them out there in time, that way you can maximize what you've got. And you're talking, I bet for your plants, you know what, almost a 10 by 10 space?
it is just about.
Yeah.
I mean, how wide are your rows?
So we did 5 foot on center, and they were going into each other.
They were all into each other.
So we not only grew together. Our in rows were shorter. We did maybe 5 feet apart, and then 4 feet in rows. The in rows grew together really quick, but the rows next to each other actually started growing into each other. So you just about couldn't walk through there without getting sticky all over you.
But going back to genetics, that was from a group that we worked with for 2 years now on their seeds, and they've got phenomenal genetics. We've
Really?
tried both years. We wanted to make sure we were testing out, our soil because, like you said, there's so many different soils throughout Missouri. You really need to kind of figure out which genetics are going to work best
Certainly.
in your ground. And I think we've figured that out, and we'll do some testing, some new seeds kind of in the coming years, but we've really figured out, I think, what works best.
Good. That's excellent. Because then you kind of, that's why I say go ahead and plant 2 plants in the space of one. It's fine. Neither one of them is going to get as big, but it'll give you a couple different things to have, right? Sometimes that variation is important whenever you're using it for a therapy. And it also, if one of them starts to go bad, get them out of there and let the other one do its thing and be fine. It's kind of like an insurance policy for me. Because our limit's 6 plants, right? We can have 6 of our medical plants outdoor in our closed in-lock facility that only you have access to. Anyway.
So we have to worry about males. Is that something that you also have to?
You plant regular seed then?
We plant feminized seed.
You do plant feminized.
We do.
But I guess on that volume, you're bound to have that 1%, right?
I think most companies will tell you there's going to be, 10% or so will be,
5 to 10.
5 to 10 will
Yeah.
be males, and you really do want to get those out because that's what's going to.
So that's like 5 or 6 on the acre males?
Yeah, not that many, but just
Well,
one will
one is
stop
plenty.
the progress
One is
right,
plenty.
of everybody.
And that's important too for on the hemp side. You can grow for different types of hemp, right? You got seed production, you got fiber production, and in this case, oil production, right? Seeds are no bueno. They're great for making that next year's batch of seeds, maybe. They do naturalize over the course of time, but it really cuts down on your trichomes.
Yep.
So if you're a trichome farmer, if you're farming for the medicine, then that's going to cut you down. And here in Missouri, you have to be careful. I expect 1 seed every ounce at the end of the year. I expect it because of where I live.
Yeah. Just
There was
the wild.
I'm 10 miles from the Missouri River bottoms back in central Missouri, and I can take you right to the fence that's probably doing it. But no sense for me to even try to eradicate it because it is it's pervasive once it gets established. So whenever you go to look at a field, is it really the soil test that you look at to know if your dirt's worth planting in, or?
I mean, that has to be kind of the end-all say-all. I mean, when we started on our property, we have hundreds of acres available. You start doing some scouting and figure out, and not everybody has not large farmland that they can go pick and choose from. But we did some scouting. So like Michelle said, you want some drainage. You prefer not to be in the bottom of a bowl where all the water's just going to come there and sit, because they just don't do well if water's just sitting on them at all times, except for hydroponics, and I don't even understand that, so I can't even talk about that. I don't know.
We got a guy.
I don't know.
Don't worry.
I don't know. I don't know how these guys can do the hydroponics
Happy
where it's
Farms.
water all the
Come on
time,
down.
and if we have a plant sit in a puddle, it just kills it. So that's not our bag, but do some scouting. Make sure you got some sunlight. Make sure you got some drainage. But yeah, at the end of the day, it's the soil. I mean,
knowing what was there before, I guess. So, of all of the acres that he was talking about, we planted corn and soybeans before. It's kind of a no-brainer not to utilize that because they're going to pull everything out of that soil. The hemp will. And if we've applied any fertilizers or anything and had already made the decision to go organic, definitely have to stay away from that ground. So, know what's been in that soil in the past.
and the best way to do that is from a soil sample.
From a test. Just get the
Just
test,
test.
you guys. And now, I'm going to say that get the test if you're going to make it a long-term bed, long-term project. Go ahead. go ahead and get that test because that's going to really inform what you need to do to really bring that to life. And they're smart folks. I'm sure you guys would help somebody read a soil test if necessary. I know I certainly would. No problem. Just send it to me. I'll tell you what I think. Might be wrong. No guarantees.
I think what's great about it now that we started to see within the last year are the folks that do the testing are now starting to put, parameters in place. When you get your results back and say, you should really have, this is your target for nitrogen or, all of the different nutrients.
Yeah, the large crop growing testers are starting to educate themselves on the cannabis plant. And so where, last year, 2 years ago, 4 years ago, they could tell you, the right nutrients for corn, soybeans, wheat, so on and so forth.
Yep.
And probably couldn't have told you what to do with cannabis. Now they're starting to educate themselves.
Did you educate your local guy?
And now they're going, okay, well, my understanding is cannabis needs a little bit of this, a little bit of that, a little bit of that. So,
good.
You should do that. Yeah. So even the guys that have been doing the other crops for a long time, they're starting to learn cannabis and adjusting their testing and
a lot of different
recommendations for that.
Yeah, and I think so let's say you can't get to a soil test real quick. I would say you're looking for a soil that's going to be darker and fairly loose. Like if you can't wear sandals and get a shovel in the soil, then it's going to be pretty rough. You know what I mean? You're probably only working with just a little bit on top to get you going where soil goes. So look for that because the root's got to get down in there, and if a shovel can't, I've got hard pan clay where I am, so I've had to work. I've got some property, so I was able to steal topsoil from other spots and make a plot. You can't do that at scale, but for my little 30 by 30 garden, I was able to do that, and really had to work at it in my particular location. So, but that's something that you can look for right out of the gate, and just work on it. If nothing else, just work on it. Even if you got containers on it, if you want to go in ground eventually, just keep putting the compost on there and putting the especially mulch and that sort of stuff. That'll build your soil right up. Did we have another question?
There's a little comment here from Michael Price. He said, I think it's important to read, these comments are not quite questions, but he says, I have a garden that I have prepped since 1981. I finally grew outside, and my sour tangy grew to 13.5 feet and got 22.85 ounces dry. I always do indoor hydro. So.
Whoa. All right. I got a comment on that. It didn't happen if there's no pictures. So send those pictures to Evolution Magazine. We'll put those on the show. I don't care, because that's awesome.
Yeah. So send them to clay.s@theevolutionmag.com, or I'm sure we have some sort of contact email on our website you can check out. Always interested to see, especially people that have gardens that are prepped since the day I was born. Or the year I was born.
Yeah, love you. Drop some knowledge out there. What are we saying? Is it right, to use rabbit manure? I like rabbit manure. I like worm castings are always great if you can get them. You got to watch out for chicken. It's got to be well aged. Cow manure, horse manure, those things got to be well aged. Right, don't throw them right on there. They're hot
because they'll get hot. They're hot and they will burn.
Literally hot. That's good. That's what you want out of a compost because that kills a lot of bacteria. It's like pasteurizing manure. Good thing. You want to get some well-aged manure though whenever you put it on, and don't go crazy if you got good soil. If you don't have good soil, put them in a pot and don't take a vacation. Just water it. Keep it watered. Right. More soil the better, and keep it watered. At the end of the year, you can till it into the soil. I prefer to go no-till, like generally speaking, but those first few years, you really have to, for me, I had to really get into that clay, mix some things into there, but now I'm done. I'm like, okay, I've got 24 inches of, that's enough. It's going to just start to compact at that point. So I'm building up my worm beds and just filling it full of matter and straw on top for a cover. And, that's all going to break down and turn into, you can sprinkle some, blood meal on it and bone meal and, whatever else you want to put on it. I just do it in the spring. We're going to have a show this fall about prepping your ground for the next year. Okay? That's got to happen every single year. But don't despair.
Speaking of the prepping of the ground and what you guys covered on the soil testing, Shauna Shaw-Rinkemeyer,
Shauna.
Yeah, she's the one that was asking about the questions earlier. She says, thanks so much for answering about how to get your dirt tested. She has a nephew that has 250 acres of land in California, Missouri, that was potentially thinking about moving on the hemp grows. So she appreciates that response on getting your dirt tested.
You bet. And Shona?
Tell him not to do 250 acres.
No, not the whole thing.
That's too much.
Not the whole thing. Just knock a zero off at least. Maybe 2 zeros.
Yeah.
Go 2 zeros.
2 zeros.
2.5 acres.
That's a good
Now
start.
we're talking. Pick the best 2.5 acres. It'll be trouble. I don't live too far from California, and I love to come down. I've not done industrial hemp or artisan hemp or any hemp whatsoever outdoors, but I know people who have. Yeah. So you can give me a call as well.
Yeah.
Eric McSwain, MCIA. Well, let's see. How much time do we have left here? We got a little ways. Good. Because I want to talk about, we talked earlier about the harvest, but during the middle of the year, it doesn't sound like you have to put much fertilizer on throughout the summer either, right? Just the chicken pellets in the spring. That was
Right.
about it.
We really haven't. I mean, like I said, tried a little bit here and there. I think we tried a calcium foliar the first year and didn't notice much difference. So
Yeah.
we haven't really applied anything throughout the year.
Yeah, and I think that's the strength of going in the native soil too, because for me with the high clay content, as long as I can break it up, make it drain, right? I got to make it drain. As long as I can break it up, and make it drain, it's got a lot of nutrients in it, right? It's got all your trace minerals. It's kind of like adding these various products, the langbonite and all those sorts of things into your potting mixes indoors. Clay's got a lot of that stuff in it. So I don't worry about that too much. Now, if you're in a pot, pick, if it's a water-only soil, I can get through a whole year in a water-only soil. The dank here at Happy Rock Farms is pretty close to that, so we can make it just right for you to go outdoors with very little effort. Otherwise, just do a similar regime to indoors, right? And you're going to fertilize all the way through the year. For in-ground, set it up at the beginning of the year. That's the bottom line. But now we're at the end of the year, right? When are there conditions out? Like in the spring, I know the storms are like beating them up, and you just got to let them. They're going to handle it, right? They'll be okay. They might lay down for a few days, but they'll get back up most of the time. But at the end of the year, do you worry about the cold? Do you worry about the wet? I mean, what are your concerns?
Well, in our area, I'd say we worry more about the dry. So we've for the last couple of years have decided we're always going to have, a way for irrigation. Whether we do drip line, and we do drip line on some of it, we did a little bit of flood irrigation last year. You have to at least have the option of having water. So great plants, hardy plants, and they can go a lot longer without having water than corn and soybeans and the rest of traditional crops we've ever grown. However, they start getting stressed out. Start getting stressed out. So at the end of the summer, we worry about that. We had a great year last year where it kind of rained when it needed to. We irrigated a couple of times, just to get through. I think we had 2 or 3 patches of 2 or 3 weeks that were just hot and dry, and then they start getting a little soft, and you can see them, getting a little weaker.
Stress.
And so put a little water on them,
I think our biggest concern at that time of year is just testing to make sure that we don't go hot, because if we have any of our lots go hot, then we have to destroy all of it. So That's probably our biggest panic.
That's the stressor.
Yeah.
That's the stressor. Yeah, and that's a good point about not letting them dry out, especially if they're in pots. That's why I told you I'm joking about not taking a vacation, because when they dry out, and even before they start to droop, okay, if the soil's too dry, there are a lot of nutrients they can't get. It's the same as starving them, okay? Nitrogen's a mobile nutrient. The soil has to be moist in order for them to take up nitrogen, period. That's just how it works. If it's too dry, even if they're not showing the wilt, they're still starving to death. And that's same for several of the mobile nutrients. Now, we don't have to worry so much about testing, but we do have to worry about inspections on the home side. Haven't heard of anybody actively getting inspected. I suspect that's going to happen if you're not using your common sense and you've got complaints coming in about what you're doing, that sort of thing. I think you get inspected for, but you got to have, it's got to be locked, and only you as the cultivator or the caregiver cultivator can have access to that space. That means you're the only one who has the key. You're the only one who has the code to the lock, whatever the case may be. Others can be with you when you go to it. I wouldn't tell everybody. They might find out on their own, but I wouldn't go around telling everybody because it is valuable. Always keep that in mind. And I'm glad you guys haven't had any problems with it. That's pretty good. Mm-hmm. We've still got kids that, they'll get pulled over and have the old-fashioned ditchweed in their car, the hemp from the hemp row. Yep. And we're like, our local sheriff, as I've talked to, just kind of throw the book at them a little bit and just kidding, and let them off because the joke's on them. They got seeds in their car for like 3 years, so don't do that, okay? But anyway, also be watchful and mindful. One plant, I don't think, in terms of odor, one plant, even if it's a pound plant, 3-pound plant, well, there's a point where it's going to start to smell a lot more, but even in a backyard, something like that you can probably do okay with. Keep her moist, get her going. But once you get, in terms of that volume, that's what it's about. Once when you walk out in the fields and you're getting sticky, like doing karate blocks, trying to get through there and not get, it's intense, and there's a lot of smell to it. Yeah. You said, what'd you say? You stunk up your downtown or your hometown?
Oh, yeah.
You stunk it up. Oh man.
In a good way.
I think I saw that movie.
Right. And if you're growing this under a license legitimately, just go talk to your law enforcement. That was before we brought one plant into.
Big respect for that.
Before we brought one plant into our extraction facility in town, we went and talked to the local law enforcement, made sure that they understood what we were doing, made sure that they understood that it was legal, and had that conversation. If you are legal doing it and you have a license to do it, go talk to them. That way you don't have the problems if they just come knocking on the door, the neighbors call, and I started smelling your plant, and now the neighbors call, and so somebody comes over there and starts harassing you. You start that conversation. If you're legal, go start that conversation and get that, because the law enforcement, from what we've seen talking to different areas, small town, big city, a lot of them are for it. So they're not going to be as off-putting as one might think. Go talk to them, make sure that they know what you're doing, and you'll win in the long run.
Yep.
So.
Yep. And I've found that a lot of advocates and, especially growers tend to geek out on it a little bit, do a lot of research. You're going to know more than everybody else around you about how all this works and what you're supposed to do and not. And, if you don't, then, now some folks, right? Rural Route Hemp Company that you could reach out to. That's right. We like to think of ourselves as being in a community, right? So I really like to bring up folks around me and teach them. We've got a caregiver program at MCIA, and that's what that's all about, is, teach people the ropes, make good medicine. You're making good medicine. I think we're going to have a great season. Last chance for questions, guys. We got to throw this out here. Not too late to give one more bump. one more referral. Tag somebody real quick if you want. What do you think? Do you guys have fun?
Oh,
Yes,
it's been
thank you.
great. Thank you.
Yeah, you're
all.
gonna come back, maybe
Oh.
share some harvest pictures, because no pictures
Absolutely.
didn't happen.
Absolutely.
Right?
We can.
Yeah.
And you can come out and help us, actually.
Okay. I'll send somebody.
We'll be doing the next podcast down there at the farm, and
Podcast?
We'll all be stripping.
What's the name of the podcast? Are you got a name for it yet?
Yeah, you coming down and helping?
What we got, Clay? What do you think,
All
man?
right, so thank you guys so much for doing this tonight. Lots of good feedback on the comments. So speaking of, if there is somebody that's out there watching today that's like, man, I would go in there and help out with their hemp farm just to get a little a glimpse on what it's like to be on a hemp farm. How can those people reach out to you to maybe help out with the next harvest?
Any of our email addresses on our website. If you go to rrhempco.com, we've got an info@mocanextracts.com that they can reach out to.
So
rrhempco.com.
rrhempco.com.
rrhempco.com or Mocan Extracts.
Pull up their website.
I don't think we mentioned this tonight, or if we did, I missed it. But Michelle, you're also on the board for the Missouri Hemp Trade Organization, right?
That's correct. Yep.
And so obviously that there's been a delay on the member meetups with COVID and everything, but we are going to be having a show coming up next month with Tyler Morgan that's going to sort of re-announce some things coming up within the organization, maybe some events, potentially, allegedly, we'll see, coming up. But it's exciting that now that the restrictions are being pulled on gatherings. I mean, that was a big part of, any kind of organization, really, but especially with farming organizations. There's a lot of farmers that are not watching shows like this because they're used to just getting together like the old days, and everybody misses that, whether you're a farmer or whether you're a youngster. But they're coming back finally. So Missouri Hemp Trade Organization, we're going to have a show live next month with Tyler Morgan. Michelle obviously is involved with that organization. So yeah, we're looking forward to helping out, not only medical marijuana license holders or patients or caregivers or organizations within that realm, but also on our hemp side, we're all a big family. Is the way
The whole industry.
the whole industry.
Everybody.
That's the way MCIA sees it. They're trying to help out patients. They're here talking great conversations with our hemp farmers. We'd love to be a part of this whole thing, and thank you guys for coming on tonight. And thanks, Eric, for hosting this conversation. And thanks to Chris Dalton that's there. He's one of the owners here at Happy Rock Farms, where we do a lot of our shows from. They have the best soil you can buy on the earth or the universe, even. I've checked. You can reach out to get some of the dank dust or the dank soil. They can barely keep up with the orders. In fact, how can any young person that's looking to help mix soil reach out to you and see how they can help get the soil across the states, Chris?
Reach out to Big V. He sets up
Big V.
the soil mix.
Okay,
Vernon
so
McClain.
so reach out to Big V. They have the top shelf
tag him.
show as well. We support their show. They do some great product tasting shows on their live podcast. We're definitely going to be having them on the show and working and collaborating in the near future. But so reach out to them for the soil. Thank you for letting us have the show here. Big shout out to James Thomas behind the ones and twos. Level Up AV. He's pretty much booked solid for his DJ gigs through April and May. He may be able to schedule you, and you better get on his. You better call ahead of time.
nice.
Is what he's
That's
saying. He's pretty busy. I have him booked out for like the next 5 years just to get on his schedule. So, Kat King Films, Kat behind the camera there. Thanks so much for helping out. Last thing next week, Kansas City, right? We're on the border, so there's a lot of Kansas City citizens that are living on the Kansas side that are looking over the border and be like, "Why not me? What's happening? I want to be able to have access to what you guys have." laws are changing on the Kansas side. I'm pretty sure that's going to happen pretty quickly, from what I've been hearing. So we reached out to Lisa Sublett with the Bleeding Kansas Advocates. She helped organize a little show for us next week with Eric McSwain from MCIA. So we have Missouri's original Cannabis Industry Association meeting up with some of Kansas normal affiliates and the Bleeding Kansas Advocates to break down what is happening on the next bill over there on the Kansas legalization side. We have pickup locations. The Evolution magazine, that is, has pickup locations on the Kansas side. So we're ready. We're all ready. So however we can help our neighbors out, we're here for that. Tune in next week to learn how you can help out with our neighbors' fight to become legal. And thanks for tuning in. We'll see you guys next week.
See you
Peace.
soon.
The Missouri Cannabis Industry Association has been our longest-running show sponsor, while providing quality education over many topics in partnership with area cannabis professionals. MCIA is dedicated to a free cannabis market to create supplies and prices that are patient-friendly, with initiatives to support adult-use cannabis, to protect home growers' rights, and expand the caregiving program. Go to mocia.org to learn about memberships, to learn about their certified caregiving program, and learn how to get involved. Thank you, MCIA, for being a show sponsor.